Hello students, in this lesson I shall discuss about two more tokens. Number one is identifier and the second one is the keywords. Okay, so at first identifier. What are identifiers? Identifiers are the names Identifiers are the names used to represent method name, class name, object name, variable name, etc. in Java. So basically in this lesson I will discuss about variable name. I will discuss about variables. So variables, what are variables? Variables are actually the named memory location. Variables are the named memory location where the actual values are stored. For an example, suppose if I write here, suppose there is a place in the memory A, and inside that A one value is stored, that is 16. So that means you have to tell that there is a place in the memory location A, and inside A one actual value means string actual value means literals or constants. So 16 is a constant value or a literal value which is stored inside this memory place. So here we will tell this one is a variable because it is a named memory location which is used to store actual values. That means used to store literals or constants. So this one is literal. Okay, and this one is variable. So this is the memory place and this is the constant value. Now variables, there are some naming convention for a variable. Naming convention for a variable means you have to follow some rules while naming a variable. Whenever in programming you will name a variable, then you need to follow some convention. Number one is a variable. I will dictate one by one. I am not writing here. First one is a variable may have any number of characters and it may contain alphabets, digits, $sign and underscore. The variable name will contain alphabets, digits, $sign and underscore, but you have to be careful that a variable name must start with an alphabet. It will be better if you start a variable name with alphabet. Okay, and do not start a variable with a digit. Okay, and the underscore can be used in between the characters to separate the words of a variable name, just like this one. If I write simple interest, a variable name, so I have to write simple, then interest in two different words I cannot write. Simple interest like this I cannot write. Okay, I have to place an underscore here, an underscore here. Okay, so it will look like two different words, but it is actually one word, isn't it? Simple underscore interest. So it is a one word actually, but it looks two different words. So now and also you can write like this, simple interest, like this one. This is known as camel case, where the next word must start with, the inner word must start with a capital letter and the first letter should be small. The first letter of a variable name should be small letter. And the next one is the variable name should be meaningful. The variable name should be meaningful, which easily depicts its purpose. Like for simple interest I am using variable x, so it is not meaningful. If you want to calculate simple interest, then you need to write like this, simple interest. Okay, so don't use a, b, c, d, x, y, z like that. So variable name should be meaningful so that we can easily understand that what is the value is stored inside this variable. So these are the naming conventions you must follow while programming in Java. Next one I will discuss about keywords. Keywords are actually, you already know, keywords are the reserved words in Java or the built-in words in Java that carries a specific meaning, isn't it? That carries a specific meaning to the execution of program. So basically we have to discuss about the data type, one keyword which is data type. Data types are all keywords in Java. Okay, so data type we will discuss in this lesson. So what is data type? Data type is the type of the value that can be stored in a variable. Like I already gave an example here, as you can see, this one. The variable is a and the value is stored here 16. So what is the type of this value? 16. It is a number, isn't it? It is a number. In QBasic, you remember there were two types of values. One is numeric and another one is alphanumeric, isn't it? Alphanumeric. So only two types of values are used in QBasic programming language. In Java, as Java is more advanced, that's why it uses more data types. Okay, not only numeric and alphanumeric. This numeric data types are divided into several types. This alphanumeric data types are divided into several types. Okay, so as a result, that what is the type of the value here? 16. 16 is a number, so the data type of this a must be number. Then only it will be able to store the value 16. If the data type of a is not a number, then it will not be able to store 16. So a data type chart I can show here. The data types in Java, I'm writing here. Data types in Java are mainly classified into two types. Number one is primitive type, and second one is non-primitive type. Primitive data type means the data types. What is the meaning of primitive? Primitive means fundamental. Primitive means fundamental component that may be used to create larger parts or larger objects, isn't it? So primitive data types means the data types which are built-in data types of Java and are used. A second point I can tell that these data types are also independent of other data types, and these data types are used to form other data types which are non-primitive data types. I will discuss later. So primitive data types are the data types which do not depend on other data types and are built-in data types, and non-primitive data types are the data types which depend on other data types. Okay, and these data types are not built-in data types. So primitive data types are divided into mainly in two types. Number one is numeric and the second one is non-numeric. Okay, that means the data types which do not depend on other data types are divided into two types, numeric and non-numeric. So first one is numeric. Numeric data types are also divided into two types. Number one is integer data type and second one is real data type or floating point data type, you can say real data type. So integer data type and real data type. So at first let me finish this one. Okay, so numeric data types are integer and real data types. So integer data types are divided into four types. and these data types are used in programming. Number 1 is byte, number 2 is short, number 3 is int, and number 4 is long. So byte, short, int, long, these are the data types are used in Java as integer data types to represent, to store any integer value. Okay, now real data types. Real data types are only two types. Number 1 is float and number 2 is double. Okay, and another numeric data type is also there, which is known as character. Character data type is also a numeric data type. I will discuss later about this one. And the data type character is used as char in Java. So these are all written in small letters. Remember, all primitive data types are written in small letter in Java programming. Okay, so these are the data types which are of numeric types: integer, real data type, and char. Next one is non-numeric. Non-numeric data type are only two types. Number 1 is Boolean. So non-numeric only one, that is Boolean. Okay, so these are the data types we will discuss, and remember there are 8 primitive data types used in Java. So count it: 1 2 3 4, 4 integer, 2 real, 5 6, one is char, character type, and another one is Boolean. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So there are 8 primitive data types which are used in Java while programming. Okay, now come to the non-primitive data type. These non-primitive data types are not in class 9 syllabus, these are in class 10, but still I am telling. Non-primitive data types are classes, interface, and another one is arrays. So these are non-primitive data type which will be discussed in class 10. So here we will discuss about the primitive data type only. Okay, so primitive data type, first one is byte. Byte, you need to remember, you need to know about the data type, about the description of this data type, that what is the size of this data type, how much memory space is occupied by this data type, what is the default initial value for this data type. Okay, what is the range of values that can be given to this data type, isn't it? So these type of things you need to remember. So at first, byte. Byte is an integer data type and memory space is 8-bit. Memory space is 8-bit, remember, memory space 8-bit, that means 1 byte, because 8 bits means 1 byte. Okay, and what is the range of this byte data type? Range of this byte data type is minus 128 to 127. That means the least value that can be assigned to a variable of byte data type is minus 128 and the highest value is 127. Okay, so within this range you can assign a value, and both are inclusive, remember. Okay, second one, I can tell you the default initial value. Default initial value of byte is how much? Default initial value means the initial value which is provided by the Java system, the Java compiler, if it is not provided by the programmer. Like if I want to write any variable like byte a equals to 0. So this is one initial value, as you can see, byte a equals to 0. So whenever I will write this one, This is known as declaration with initialization. Declaration means to specify the data type of a variable. On the left hand side, to specify the data type of a variable, this is known as declaration. So up to this part is declaration, and then equal to 0, this one is known as initialization. So whenever I will write this one, so byte a equals to 0, then at that time I am giving one initial value to this variable. The first value that is given to a variable is assigned to a variable is known as initial value. But if I write only byte a, then I have not given any value to this variable. So at that time what Java system will do, Java system will assign a default initial value to this variable, and that value will be known as default initial value. Okay, so default initial value of byte is 0. Remember, default initial value of byte is 0. Next one is short. Short, the memory size is 16 bits. So every time the memory size will increase here. 8 bits, 8 into 2, 16 bits. Okay, 16 bits mean 2 bytes. What is the range of integers? Range of integers is minus 32,768 to 32,767. So this is the least value which can be assigned to a variable of short type, and this is the highest value which can be assigned to a variable of short type. Okay, and here default the memory space also I told here, and the default initial value is 0. Okay, next one is int. Integer 16 into 2 means 32 bits memory space. 32 bits means 4 bytes, and the range is minus 2 to the power 31 to plus 2 to the power 31 minus 1. Okay, so how these powers are coming here I will discuss later. Minus 2 to the power 31, how it comes, I will tell you later. Okay, and here the default initial value, must remember, is 0. So the default initial value for byte, short and int all are 0. Now long. The memory space of long is 64 bits, because 32 into 2 is 64 bits, and it is 8 bytes if you express in terms of bytes. What is the range? Range is minus 2 to the power 63 to plus 2 to the power 63 minus 1. That is the range. So longer integers are stored in a variable of long type. Okay, and default initial value, remember, is 0L. Default initial value is 0L. So in case of byte, short, int, default initial value is 0, but in case of long, you need to write default initial value is 0L. This L can be written either in uppercase or in lowercase. Okay, now one thing I need to tell you, that how I am getting this range. Okay, so remember the number of bits. What is the number of bits used in byte? What is the number of bit used in byte? 8 bit. So remember this one. So here I am writing n equals to 8. Okay, so the formula for the least value and the highest value is minus 2 to the power n minus 1, that is for the least value, and for the highest value plus 2 to the power n minus 1 minus 1. That is the formula. So what is the value of n here? 8. So place the value of n here. Minus 2 to the power 8 minus 1, and here plus 2 to the power 8 minus 1 minus 1. That means minus 2 to the power 8 means minus 2 to the power 7, and here plus 2 to the power 7 minus 1. So what is the value of 2 to the power 7? 2 to the power 7 means 128. So here minus 128. Okay, I'm writing 2 here, and here 2 to the power 7 means 128, minus 1 means 127. So plus 127. So that is the range. What is the range? Minus 128 to 127. That means plus 127. Isn't it? So in that way we are getting this one. So another one we can also write in just in case of int, how we are getting 2 to the power 31. What is the memory size? 32 bit. Okay, 32 bit. 32 bit, and what is the formula? What is the formula? Minus 2 to the power n minus 1 2 plus 2 to the power n minus 1 minus 1. So that is the formula. So 32 bit, int means 32 bit. So I am placing the value minus 2 to the power 32 minus 1 to 2 to the power 32 minus 1 minus 1. Okay, that means minus 2 to the power 31 to plus 2 to the power 31 minus 1. Minus 2 to the power 31 least value, and minus 2 to the power 31 minus 1, that is the highest value. That means the range will depend on the memory size in terms of bits, isn't it?